Test.com's Ase A8 Practice Test. For the complete practice test, flashcards, exam review, and testing tips, check out the complete A1 through A8 Practice Test Kit with 800 questions and the Ase A8 Engine Performance Practice Exam Kit with 120 questions and fully explained answers. General Engine Diagnosis. Question 1. Which of the following should be the first step in diagnosing an engine performance concern? A. Discussing concern with the vehicle owner. B. Retrieve diagnostic trouble codes. C. Check for symptoms in the online service manual. D. Road test the vehicle. A. Discussing concern with the vehicle owner. You need an accurate description of the customer's concern, and the owner is the source. Question 2. Using a diagnostic strategy for a drivability concern, which of the following is generally the last step in that process? A. Checking vehicle history. B. Verifying repair. C. Doing service checks. D. Verifying concern. B. Verifying repair. Verifying the repair is always the last step in making sure the repair was complete. Question 3. Technician A says paper service manuals are still used in today's service world. Technician B says to follow the recommended service procedures contained in the online service information. Who is right? A. A only. B. B only. C. Both A and B. D. Neither A nor B. B. B only. Virtually all OEM service information is accessed via the Internet. Technician A is wrong because paper service manuals are currently obsolete. Question 4. When looking for specific service information, what vehicle information is needed to locate the information? A. Vehicle VIN. B. Vehicle build date. C. Model year. D. Make, model, and year. D. Make, model, and year. On almost all data services, you must have the make, model, and year. Ignition systems diagnosis and repair. Question 5. A no-start condition is being diagnosed on a vehicle with electronic fuel injection, or EFI, and distributorless ignition. Technician A says you should only use a DMM, digital multimeter, to check voltage values on PCM, powertrain control module. Technician B says you should use a tool to check for spark at one of the spark plugs. Who is right? A. A only. B. B only. C. Both A and B. D. Neither A nor B. C. Both A and B. Both technicians are correct. Question 6. What is being done in the illustration? A. Adjusting electronic timing. B. Adjusting ignition timing. C. Checking ignition coil polarity. D. Checking for spark with an ST125. D. Checking for spark with an ST125. The illustration shows an ST125. Question 7. Technician A says an engine could misfire under load if the ignition coil is tracked. Technician B says the pickup coil must have dielectric grease under it. Who is right? A. A only. B. B only. C. Both A and B. D. Neither A nor B. C. Both A and B. Both technicians are correct. Question 8. A 12-volt test light is connected from the negative primary coil terminal to ground on an electric distributor ignition DI system. The light flutters while cranking the engine. A spark tester does not fire when it is connected from the coil secondary wire to ground while cranking the engine. Which of the following is the most likely cause? A. Defective ignition coil. B. Defective pickup coil. C. Defective ignition module. D. Defective spark plug. A. Defective ignition coil. The test light going off and on indicates that the ignition coil triggering device is working, but the failure of a spark indicates a coil failure. Fuel, air induction, and exhaust systems diagnosis and repair. Question 9. Two technicians are discussing emission diagnosis. Technician A says an ignition misfire will increase CO and HC emissions and set a DTC diagnostic trouble code. Technician B says a misfire caused by a lean condition will increase HC and CO emissions without a DTC set. Who is right? A. A only. B. B only. C. Both A and B. D. Neither A nor B. A. A only. Technician A is correct because all misfires set a specific DTC and will increase HC and CO. Technician B is wrong because a lean misfire also sets a DTC and will not increase HC and CO. Question 10. A scan tool is being used to check fuel injector balance. Based on service manual procedure, what is the expected result if the injector is functioning properly? A. Engine RPM should increase as each injector is turned off. B. Engine RPM should decrease as each injector is turned off. C. ECT, or engine coolant temperature, voltage should decrease. D. ECT voltage should increase. B. Engine RPM should decrease as each injector is turned off. Engine RPM will decrease as each injector is turned off unless there is a fault in the cylinder. There will be no change in coolant temperature. Question 11. During an injector power balance test, a technician finds one injector has failed but is receiving a good power supply. What should be done next? A. Voltage drop of the injector ground. B. Voltage check at the ignition power feed. C. Continuity check between PCM and injector. D. Continuity check between fuse and injectors. C. Continuity check between PCM and injector. The recommendation by most ESM is to do a continuity check between the PCM and injectors when adequate power is available to the injector. Question 12. Which of the following could cause a vehicle to run poorly after the battery was discharged or disconnected? A. PROM, programmable read-only memory, failed. B. EEPROM, erasable programmable read-only memory, failed. C. Learned value has been lost from RAM. D. Learned value has been lost from ROM. C. Learned value has been lost from RAM. If battery power is lost, the learned value from the RAM may be lost. RAM data is electronically retained, which means that it is always to some extent volatile. That is, data storage could be described as temporary. If the circuit is opened, RAM data is lost. It should be noted that most BCMs use only fully volatile RAM. In other words, when the ignition circuit is opened, all RAM data is dumped. A second type of RAM is used in some PCMs. This is non-volatile RAM, or NVRAM, or CAM Keep Alive Memory, in which data is retained until either the battery is disconnected or the PCM is reset, usually by depressing a computer reset button, which temporarily opens the circuit. Codes and failure strategy, action sequence, would be written to NVRAM and retained until reset. Emission control systems diagnosis and repair. Question 13. Technician A says a crushed PCV hose affects idle on some engines and also can cause an oil leak. Technician B says when checking crankcase pressure at 2500 RPM, the PCV system should show a slight pressure in the crankcase at idle. Who is right? A. A only. B. B only. C. Both A and B. D. Neither A nor B. A. A only. Technician A is correct because on many engines the PCV provides a portion of the idle air, and if it is restricted, it creates positive crankcase pressure which will push the engine oil out of the engine. Technician B is wrong because the PCV system should create a slight vacuum in the crankcase at 2500 RPM. Question 14. Technician A says if the PCV valve is clogged, the engine could have a rough idle. Technician B says if the PCV valve rattles, then it does not need to be replaced. Who is right? A. A only. B. B only. C. Both A and B. D. Neither A nor B. A. A only. Technician A is correct because a portion of the idle air is furnished by the PCV system. Technician B is wrong because the rattle alone does not dictate proper operation. Question 15. A technician suspects the EGR, exhaust gas recirculation valve, is closed. Which of the following would indicate a closed EGR valve? A. Rough idle. B. Stalling. C. Spark knock. D. Engine surge. C. Spark knock. Spark knock is a symptom of an EGR valve that is always closed. The other choices are wrong because they are symptoms of an EGR valve that is always open. Question 16. The plastic sensors on an electronically controlled EGR valve have melted. Technician A says excessive back pressure caused by a partially clogged exhaust system could be the cause. Technician B says to always check for a restricted exhaust whenever replacing a failed EGR valve sensor. Who is right? A. A only. B. B only. C. Both A and B. D. Neither A nor B. C. Both A and B. Both technicians are correct. Computerized engine controls diagnosis and repair. Question 17. This question has the word except. For this question, look for the choice that could not meet the described situation. Read the entire question carefully before choosing your answer. Long-term fuel trim is a self-learned value. Disconnecting the MAF sensor or using a scan tool can clear a learned value. Many fuel system and emission components have a direct effect on the air-fuel mixture ratio. Self-learning control should be cleared each time any of these components have been replaced or repaired, except A. MAF or mass airflow sensor, B. Oxygen sensor, C. PCV positive crankcase ventilator valve, D. Fuel injectors. C. PCV positive crankcase ventilator valve. The PCV valve is the exception because it has a very indirect effect on the air-fuel mixture ratio and is not an electronic component. Question 18. The OBD2 Onboard Diagnostic Level 2 system on a vehicle interprets a disconnected spark plug as a misfire that could damage the three-way catalyst. On which trip will the ECM or PCM most likely turn on the malfunction indicator lamp? A. The first trip. B. Second trip. C. Third trip. D. Fourth trip. A. First trip. It is most likely that on the first trip a misfire condition can occur that can damage the three-way catalyst, TWC due to overheating. Specific onboard diagnostic items will cause the ECM to light up or blink the MIL, the malfunction indicator lamp, and store DTC and freeze frame data, even in the first trip, e.g. misfire, possible three-way catalyst damage. DTC P0300, P0306 is being detected. Question 19. Technician A says the onboard self-diagnostics test mode procedures should be conducted on a cold engine. Technician B says many diagnostic trouble codes, or DTC, will monitor items only when the engine control system is in closed loop. Who is right? A only, B only, C, both A and B, D, neither A nor B. B only. Technician B is correct because many diagnostic trouble codes will monitor items only when the engine control system is in closed loop. Closed loop operation requires the engine to reach a certain operating temperature before it can be entered. Technician A is wrong because the onboard self-diagnostics test mode procedures should be conducted on a warm engine, not a cold engine as stated in the question. That is, in closed loop, because many DTCs only monitor in a closed loop. Question 20. What component does the PCM or ECM monitor to determine the condition of the catalytic converter and will set a DTC diagnostic trouble code if it fails? A. Throttle position sensor. B. Engine coolant temperature sensor. C. Front and rear catalyst temperature sensors. D. Front and rear O2 or oxygen sensors. D. Front and rear O2 or oxygen sensors. On vehicles equipped with OBD2, use of two oxygen sensors is required to monitor catalytic converter efficiency. The front oxygen sensor is located before the catalytic converter, upstream, and the rear oxygen sensor is located after the converter, downstream. During closed-loop fuel control, the ECM compares the signals from the two oxygen sensors. One important point to remember is that a rear O2 sensor is used only for diagnostics. It usually has no influence on engine operation or drivability. Thanks for watching Test.com's Ase A8 Practice Test. For complete practice, try Test.com's 120-question Ase A8 Practice Test. See Test.com for more information.